Always indeed he sleeps well, the Brahmana who is fully quenched, who does not cling to sensual pleasures, cool at heart, without acquisitions or without attachments, having cut off all attachments, having removed care from the heart, the peaceful one sleeps well, having attained peace of mind. And that's the end of the sutta. So here describes how Anathapindika had the first meeting with the Buddha. So the Buddha says he always sleeps well. If we do not have remorse, if we keep our precepts well, and we do a lot of wholesome karma, good deeds to help other beings, then we have a lot of happiness in our heart, nothing to disturb us, and we always sleep well. Next sutta, 10.12. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Alavi, the haunt of the Yakkha Alavaka. Then the Yakkha Alavaka approached the Blessed One and said to him, "Get out, ascetic." "All right, friend," the Blessed One said, and he went out. "Come in, ascetic." "All right, friend," the Blessed One said, and he went in. The second time, Alavaka, the Yakkha, asked the Blessed One to get out, and he went out. Second time, he asked him to come in, and he came in. Third time, the Yakkha Alavaka said to the Blessed One, "Get out, ascetic." And the Buddha said, "All right, friend," and he went out. "Come in, ascetic." "All right, friend," the Blessed said, and he went in. The fourth time, the Yakkha Alavaka said to the Blessed One, "Get out, ascetic." And the Buddha said, "I won't go out, friend. Do whatever you have to do." And the Yakkha Alavaka said, "I'll ask you a question, ascetic. If you won't answer me, I'll drive you insane, or I'll split your heart, or I'll grab you by the feet and hurl you across the Ganges." Let's stop here for a moment. According to the commentaries, this Yakkha Alavaka, he resided in a cave. But on that particular occasion, he had gone away for some meeting, maybe with other devas. So the Buddha happened to come by there, and this Alavaka's wives, they probably recognized the Buddha as a holy man. So they invited the Buddha into that cave, the home of this Alavaka, and asked the Buddha to teach them the Dhamma. So the Buddha taught them the Dhamma. So Alavaka came back and he saw the Buddha with all his wives, and he was annoyed that the Buddha was talking to his wives, jealous. So that's why he asked the Buddha to get out, and the Buddha complied. He asked the Buddha to come in, the Buddha also complied. After 3 times, the Buddha refused to comply, and he threatened the Buddha. And the Buddha said, "I do not see anyone in this world, friend, with its devas, Mara and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans, who could drive me insane, or split my heart, or grab me by the feet and hurl me across the Ganges. But ask whatever you want, friend." And Alavaka asked, "What here is a man's best treasure? What practice well brings happiness? What is really the sweetest of tastes? How lives the one who they say lives best?" And the Buddha said, "Faith is here a man's best treasure. Dhamma practiced well brings happiness. Truth is really the sweetest of tastes. One living by wisdom, they say, lives best." I'll stop here for a moment. The first line that Buddha here says, "Faith is here a man's best treasure," probably refers to faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And Alavaka asked again, "How does one cross over the flood?" I mean, it's the flood, the sea of suffering. "How does one cross the rugged sea? How does one overcome suffering? How is one purified?" And the Buddha said, "By faith one crosses over the flood. By diligence the rugged sea. By energy one overcomes suffering. By wisdom one is purified." Again Alavaka asked, "How does one gain wisdom? How does one find wealth? How does one achieve acclaim? How bind friends to oneself? When passing from this world to the next, how does one not sorrow?" And the Buddha said, "Placing faith in the Dhamma of the Arahants for the attainment of Nibbana, From desire to learn, one gains wisdom. If one is diligent and astute, doing what is proper, dutiful, one with initiative finds wealth. By truthfulness, one wins acclaim. Giving, one binds friends. That is how one does not sorrow when passing from this world to the next. The faithful seeker of the household life, in whom dwell these four qualities, truth, Dhamma, steadfastness, generosity, does not sorrow when he passes on. Come now, ask others as well, the many ascetics and Brahmins, whether there is found here anything better than truth, self-control, generosity and patience. And Alavaka said, why now should I ask this question of the many ascetics and Brahmins? Today I have understood the good pertaining to the future life. Indeed, for my sake the Buddha came to reside at Alavi. Today I have understood where a gift bears great fruit. I myself will travel about from village to village, town to town, paying homage to the Enlightened One and to the excellence of the Dhamma. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see this Yakkha, Alavaka, he threatened the Buddha, threatened to kill the Buddha if the Buddha could not answer his questions. He had probably asked other ascetics and he did not get a satisfactory answer from them. So having come to the Buddha, all his questions were answered and he understood what the Buddha said. So he said, why should I ask other Brahmins? I have all the answers from you. So after that, he became a disciple of the Buddha and he went around praising the Buddha and also protecting the Buddha. Like in modern times, you have here Ajahn Mun of the Thai forest tradition. He also, according to the biography, he went to live in a certain cave. And this Yakkha came. And it seems this Yakkha had killed other monks who came to his cave. So he also threatened to kill this Ajahn Mun. But then he saw that Ajahn Mun was different. Ajahn Mun emitted light from the head. So after talking to Ajahn Mun, he also became a disciple. Now, seems that we are coming to the last chapter. Good. Sakka Samyutta. This course is connected with Sakka. Sakka here is Sakka Devaraja. Devaraja means king of the Rajas, king of the Devas, king of the celestial beings. And Sakka Devaraja resides in the Tavatimsa heaven, the heaven of the 33 gods. And that is the second heaven in the sensual desire realm. It's supposed to be a very happy place where the Devas and Devis enjoy great sensual pleasure, and they have this grove called the Nandana grove where they enjoy themselves. So I start with the Sutta 11.3 at Savatthi. There the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," those monks replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, once in the past, the Devas and the Asuras were arrayed for battle." I stop here for a moment. Here, the Devas and the Asuras arrayed for battle, ready to fight. This refers to the Devas and the Asuras who reside in the Tavatimsa heaven. The Tavatimsa heaven, they have these Devas who come under the Sakka Devaraja. And these Asuras, they come under Vepachiti, one of the main leaders of the Asuras is Vepachiti. And once a celestial year, they are sure to fight. That is the time when the coral flower tree in the Nandana grove, once a year it blooms, and when it blooms for 3 or 4 months, the Devas will enjoy great sensual pleasure under this tree, because this tree is a very special tree, and the flower blooms, the smell, the fragrance is so nice, and it goes a long way. So these Devas and Asuras are their enemies, because these Asuras, even though they reside up in the heaven of the 33, they have some bad habits. They like to drink liquor, get drunk, they like to fight. So one day, it seems when they were quite drunk, Sakka Devaraja and his Devas caught them and threw them down from the Tavatimsa heaven, and they fell into the great ocean in the heavens. So they reside in the oceans in the heavens. But once in a year, when they realize that it is time, the coral flower tree is blooming, they are annoyed, they are not enjoying themselves up there. They'll go up there and fight with Sakka Devaraja. But this is not the only time they fight. Sometimes other occasions when they meet each other also they fight. So this story of the Devas fighting is not only in Buddhism, it's also in Christianity. But then the interpretation there is that Michael the archangel drove Satan out of heaven. It's also in the Hindu stories, I think it's the Mahabharata or what, where these Devas fight. So the Buddha said, monks, once in the past, the Devas and the Asuras were arrayed for battle. Then Sakka Devaraja addressed the Tavatimsa Devas thus: Dear sirs, when the Devas are engaged in battle, if fear or trepidation or terror should arise, on that occasion you should look up at the crest of my standard, my banner. For when you look up at the crest of my standard, whatever fear or trepidation or terror you may have will be abandoned. Let's stop here for a moment. Why they should have fear? Because they are going to war and they're going to kill each other. So all beings, as long as you have the ego, you fear for your life. And then he continued, if you cannot look up at the crest of my standard, then you should look up at the crest of the Deva king, Pajapati's standard. For when you look up at the crest of his standard, whatever fear or trepidation or terror you may have will be abandoned. If you cannot look up at the crest of the Deva king, Pajapati's standard, then you should look up at the crest of the Deva king, Varuna's standard. If you cannot look up at the crest of the Deva king Varuna standard, then you should look up at the crest of the Deva king Isana standard. For when you look up at the crest of his standard, whatever fear or trepidation or terror you may have will be abandoned. Let's stop here for a moment. So here, Sakka Devaraja is telling all the Devas that when they go into the battle and fight, then if they feel fear, look at his banner, his standard, and then they will get courage again. If they happen to be in a place where they cannot see Sakka Devaraja and his standard, look at some other taiko carrying the standard. All these are great fighters of the Deva world. Monks, for those who look up at the crest of the standard of Sakka Devaraja, or of Pajapati Devaraja, or of Varuna Devaraja, or of Isana Devaraja, whatever fear or trepidation or terror they may have, may or may not be abandoned. For what reason? Because Sakka Devaraja is not devoid of lust, not devoid of hatred, not devoid of delusion. He can be timid, petrified, frightened, quick to flee. But monks, I say this, if you have gone to a forest or to the foot of a tree or to an empty hut, and fear or trepidation or terror should arise in you, on that occasion you should recollect me thus: the Blessed One is an Arahant, perfectly enlightened, accomplished in true knowledge and conduct, fortunate, knower of the world, unsurpassed leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of Devas and humans, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. For when you recollect me, monks, whatever fear or trepidation or terror you may have will be abandoned. I'll stop here for a moment. So the Buddha says, if you have any fear, you think of the Devaraja, it's not for sure that you will have confidence, because Sakka Devaraja himself, all the other Devarajas, they still have greed, hatred and delusion. They are not enlightened yet. So because of that,